Hello everyone and welcome to my favourite guide to start the season. It's been made in time and it's only 12 hours to deadline. It's the Defenders guide. My position, centre back when I used to play regularly before my surgery. It's the position I love to coach as well. I love to coach defenders, centre backs and full backs. And I really like talking about it when it comes to fantasy football as well and football. As I'm sure that will shine through in the video. If you haven't already seen the other videos, I also have forward and midfielder videos that were created within 2 or 3 days, 2 days before the deadline, so they're very fresh. All the picks are very fresh. So go check those out after this if you haven't already. I also have free access to spreadsheets across all 3 positions on my Patreon. Just click the link in the description. You'll be able to see all of those for free and have access to them. If you want any extra videos, I also have those on my YouTube gym memberships and Patreon. Let's get into the video then. So, where to start with defenders? I think they've made very positive changes to the defense as a whole, but as a result, the other positions feel very neglected, especially the forward line and goalkeepers. Midfielders was always the strongest position and still sort of just remains it, but this is where those new defensive bonus points really shine through. And we will talk about those as we go through. I've split it into 2 sections, premiums and cheapies. So you got your 5 million plus in this section, and then on the next page you will see you have the cheapies, the 4 to 4.5 million picks. So let's start going through them then. I'll tell you my opinions on them as we go. So at the top we have René Nori. So one of my favorite picks last year. Since he joined the league, he's been absolutely fantastic and a breath of fresh air when it comes to marauding fullbacks. I think he's going to be very important for Pep's team, and I think Guardiola has spoken very well. I know he's spoken very highly of him as well. It really is his position to lose. I think when Champions League comes around, he will be rotated a little bit. You know, they may play one of the young fellas there, they may play one Guardiola there and rotate a little bit, but I think until then, he's too important to this system to not have him in the team. I suppose the threat of rotation is a worry, given he's the most expensive defender in the game, and also given the fixtures are middling. As you can see, I just labelled the fixtures here based upon how I feel defensively tough those fixtures are, right? So you can see Tottenham are always very good in attack, so I tend to be quite good in attack. So that's a yellow fixture, but the Wolves away one. Wolves have not shown much going forward in pre-season. They've lost Cunha. You know, it's not an attack that's free-flowing right now. So that, to me, even though it's away, is a green fixture. Yeah, so you can just sort of see a snapshot of that. Nori, if you want a part of that Man City team and you don't have Reinders already, or you already have Reinders and you want another part of it, or you just want another part of it in defense, Nori's really, really strong pick. I actually think he might be the highest upside pick across the entire defenders bracket for the opening 4 weeks, but with regards to attacking returns, but there's risk of rotation. Man City don't have Rodri all the time, at least at the start, to plug that defensive hole either. So I think you're buying into a defense which is going to concede a few at the start, but on the flip side, you're buying into one of the best attacking assets defensively in the game. But he's quite expensive. I think he's priced exactly right, but he still feels expensive, right? At 5.5, he would have been too cheap. Gabriel, and this is one for the casuals. Kind of wanted to put him in. I don't think he's a casual pick, by the way, but I feel as though if you're going with Gabriel, you're playing the game in a sort of hands-off format, which is fine. It's absolutely a viable way to play the game, and we've seen it before, and you'll see it again. People will post on Twitter and say things like, with this team, with making no transfers, you would be the top 1,000 at game week 20 or something. And the type of picks you see in those teams are your Gabriels. So whilst the opening 6 fixtures are pretty bad, it's an Arteta Arsenal side. And like I actually don't know if it's the case anymore, but I know that at one point, I always like to throw this stat out, Gabriel at one point over the past 3 to 4 seasons since he joined the league was the top scoring defender in the league. With Milenkovic, what he did last season, Munoz rising, Cucurella rising, Nori rising. Not sure if that stat holds true last season anymore. So, but it did before then. It's always something to consider with him. You can see his average shots per game is one of the highest among the defenders that you'll see. All of that XGI is mostly goal threat as well, and he has the best expected clean sheets, because that XGC is the expected amount of goals conceded per game for that player in that team last season. You can see though, where he falls short is not only the fixtures, but those defensive bonus points. He would have only got defensive bonus in 7% of games last year. So that's why for me, if I was going for a 6 mil, I prefer a Nori to a Gabriel. I'm not going to talk you out of it though, because he's got Leeds and Nottingham Forest at home in the first 4. Cucurella, every time I think of him now, I think of that terrible chant that he did. I think at the end of Spain's win, it might have been in the Euros. He's a proper wind-up merchant, isn't he? I also don't know how he plays professional football with hair that long, because when I had long hair, it was very annoying and got in the way all the time. His is twice. It looked like even fuller than that, right? It was twice the length for that. So I don't know how he does it. I think it's to wind up other people that play. But anyway, I digress. I like him actually, but he is a wind-up merchant. But he's not super nasty about it. He's not aggro. At the start of the season, I had him in my team for a long time when the game came out, but his numbers aren't as impressive as his price would lead you to believe. I actually think they should have priced him at 5.5. I don't think it's like a massive misprice, but he's not going to get that many defensive contributions. I don't know where these sort of... 1 second. I made a mistake here. My bad there. I actually mixed, for some reason, when I pulled this from the spreadsheet, I'd mixed up Murillo and Porro there. I was about to go off on a tangent to mention that I'm not really sure where the... because I've seen some people say Cucurella and Porro are suddenly going to start getting defensive contributions this season. Nothing indicates that really, unless they started playing centre-back or something, which they're probably not going to do. They're too important for both their sides in what role they play on the wing. So I don't suspect these two players are going to get defensive bonus that often. As you can see, it's probably going to happen 1 in 10 games for them. It's not often, less than 1 in 10 in fact. Will it happen occasionally? Could they get in the first 2 out of 2? They could, but it would be random. As we can see now, there's probably a 10% chance that they get it, or they get it once every 10 games. Also, leading on nicely from that, as a result of that, with Cucurella, if we had an unlimited budget, I think he'd be in everyone's team. But given he's not going to get defensive contributions, given his stats aren't the best, they're definitely not as good as Porro's or Munoz's, right, for attacking. You're basically just getting him for the fixtures, and then the attacking is a bonus if he does get it. But you can see, even if you look at this, it's not even that much better than Nico Williams is, or Milenkovic's. Which puts us on a nice segue when I talk about when I write FPFB on some of these stats. What that means is that the player has stats from another league, as you can also see from the asterisks. So we don't actually have the defensive contributions, or they're there somewhere probably, but it's very difficult to find them. So as a result, I just write whether they're a fullback or centre back. If it's a fullback, generally the recoveries are going to be pretty bad. If they're a centre back, they're probably going to be pretty good. In some cases, very, very good. So since Ping Pong's a fullback, he's probably not going to get that much defensive contribution. Again, it would just be random, maybe a bit of lucky to get some. So it's going to be similar to, say, Nori or Cucurella's, or Porro's, most likely. But look at those attacking stats. The argument to be made against Frimpong, though, is that he's a rotation risk when Connor Bradley becomes fit again, certainly when Champions League comes around. You could see him playing those easier games, Bradley. But you could also argue, there's not that many easy games in the running, and Bradley will be out for the first fixture, so probably you wouldn't see Bradley till game week 7, maybe. Because I just can't see him playing, a weak inside against those other sides. Maybe the Burnley away game he gives Bradley a run out. But do you want that headache for 6 million, So whilst Gabriel and Cucurella give you more assured starts, Nori and Frimpong have a much higher ceiling. None of them have defensive bonus as a factor. I think Frimpong's, to me, in the opening fixture, is if I was on a free hit, obviously, but none of us are on a free hit, it's the opening fixture. But if I was, Frimpong would be straight in there in defence because Bournemouth at home looks really good. The Liverpool defence though generally isn't really something that I want to invest in with regards to clean sheets. And speaking of clean sheets, Virgil van Dinkel um, is decent for defensive contributions, especially for a bigger side. You normally see them a lot lower, as you can see with Gabriel. So he's like a very, very safe pick. I think again, the same people who pick Gabriel would also want to pick someone like Virgil van Dijk. I would start with Van Dijk over Gabriel at the minute. Um, Frimpong versus Van Dijk. It really depends upon the way you want to play the game. If you're going for high upside, shooting for the stars, go for Frimpong. If you're more risk averse and you just want to have someone that you're safe playing every single week and you could score in any week, you could get defensive bonus, 1 in 3 games. He's a very solid pick. Safe as houses pick. I could see why people are going there. There's a lot of arguments to be made that he might actually be the one of the best 6 million starting picks. The issue is though, as soon as it gets to game week 2, and I always like to mention this in my videos, as soon as that game week or timer ticks over and you look at your team, except everyone does it, right? As soon as the game week deadline goes through and you're waiting for the first week's game to watch it or whatever, or to keep up to date with it, you're waiting on to pick your team so you can set your team up for the next week. And as soon as you do that, you'll know, I don't really want Liverpool defenders for Newcastle away, Arsenal at home, right? So that is something to consider for the Liverpool defense. I'm not trying to talk you out of them. I'm just saying that you really need them to score points in game week 1 because they're probably not going to keep a clean sheet at St. James's Park. And they're probably not going to keep one against Arsenal in game week 3. And the Liverpool defense generally doesn't look that strong in pre-season. The attack certainly does. Across the pond within Liverpool, though, is of course James Tarkowski of Everton. I don't know if anyone watched, this is a complete tangent, I don't know if anyone watched the highlights of Everton versus Roma, but there was a guy they had commentating on that just kept saying snoddy when he was talking to the fellow he was co-commentating with after every single sentence. And it was driving me crazy, man. It was driving me crazy. I assume the commentators get paid well, and if you're like, I don't know what to say. I don't know how to. I don't want to be too harsh, but I mean, if you're commentating like that and getting paid for it, it's like I could do a better job than that, mate. You know what I mean? Whatever, it's fine. Just kept saying snoddy after every sentence, and then I went to the comments on YouTube. I was thinking like, there's definitely a top comment saying like, "All right, snoddy, how's it going, snoddy? Hey, snoddy." Anyway, complete tangent, but there was no comments. I was shocked. Maybe they're deleting the comments. Anyway, James Tarkowski is above me in the pictures here. My dad said to me he's not going to pick Tarkowski anymore because who's the other fella? Branthwaite, the guy who's linked with a lot of the teams, is injured, and he certainly is injured. But how long till he's back is up in the air, and I really don't think that team is that bad for having Keane in it alongside Tarkowski. Obviously, Branthwaite's the better player than Keane, but O'Brien's still there at the back. He's very solid. Mikolenko's very solid. Pickford's a very good keeper, even though he's not very likable as a person. Oh, God. I don't like players who like. I've seen Pickford try and injure players before, and I can't stand people like that, to be honest. Tarkowski in that side, with the investments they've made, Dewsbury Hall will make them better at retaining ball possession. They've got Garner and Gay in there as well. I think they'll be a very solid team to break down, and they already were a very solid team. So yes, they probably lost Branthwaite for a little bit, but Tarkowski, look at those defensive points bonuses. You're getting 2 extra bonus points. Two of every 3 games. You're getting 2 extra bonus points. That's crazy, right? In addition to Tarkowski generally being a good goal threat historically, a threat in the air to create in the box as well. He creates with his head. And as you can see from the stats, Everton are just a team that rely on their defense, much like Forest. I think he's a fantastic pick, and I can see why he's in so many teams. I don't think there's anyone else you can go with in that Everton defense. They're just not worth it, the rest of them. But Tarkowski at 5.5 really is worth it. I suppose it's just a question the only real question is, as we just mentioned, how much will Braithwaite being out for affect them, and how long will he be out for? If it's just a couple of games, I don't think you should forgo Tarkowski for that. But if it comes out before the deadline, which as of the time of recording, we're only 12 hours to deadline, that Braithwaite is suddenly fit, or that he's ruled out for like 5 months, then it's like a worry, right? So one to keep up to date with for your teams, because I think he's a really, really, really good pick. His defensive contributions are amazing for him. I also think it'd be funny watching Everton games and just like constantly cheering whenever Tarkowski makes a clearance, because he does it all the time. It would just be funny. Anyway, Pedro Porro is another one in this bracket that it's interesting. He like played most of the season last season and had terrible point score, but he was coached by Big Ange, who only kind of had one way of playing, and that was all out attack most of the season until the end when he played very defensive to win that Europa League in the sort of running knockout phase. Yeah, the thing is about Porro now is Son's gone. Madison's looks like he might be out for the season, unfortunately. It means that Porro will be on all set pieces except for pens. He's also a very, very good penalty taker. He used to take penalties for Sporting. I would love for him to take penalties, just from like a Atmos perspective as well. Like it's cool when defenders take penalties. So, but he's not going to. It'll be Solanke, and if not, it'll be Richarlison if he's on the pitch. So, and one of them will always be on the pitch, unfortunately. But failing those two, I think he would be the next in line to take penalties. To be honest with you, he should be. He's a very good penalty taker. I'm really going off piece though, because Porro, we shouldn't be talking about his penalties because he doesn't have them. Set pieces, he has. Tottenham scored 2 headers in the Super Cup if you didn't see it, and Porro was on corners for that game. Burnley at home, Bournemouth at home in game week 1 and game week 3 are very, very good. The West Ham away fixture is a good fixture still. Brighton away isn't a bad fixture. Wolves at home is a very good fixture. So it's only really game week 2 where you don't massively want to own him. But if you do own him, I'm seeing some, big YouTubers say they're gonna play whatchamacallhim, the Burnley fella in game week 2, Steve or whatever. Esteve, for some reason it reminds me of 21 Jump Street, his name. You know when he says my name is Jeff, it reminds me of that, my name is Steve. But anyway, no chance of those YouTubers going to be benching Pedro Porro for a Burnley defender, regardless of the fixture. So it's all well and good planning that out. I doubt they'll actually go through with it, and I wouldn't go through with it. I would just play Porro because he's on set pieces and he's very threatening. And Tottenham could turn up against Man City, though you wouldn't expect him to keep a clean sheet. I suppose if you had another more viable player to rotate in, then it becomes more interesting for that game. But the other question mark as well is, can Tottenham even defend still, Another nice thing about the Thomas Frank side is they do like the set pieces. You got to remember last season, I think James Collins, who's a centre-back, and used to play for Stoke, actually, I learned today. Sorry, not James Collins, that was the Welsh fellow who played for West Ham, who was also a centre-back. Nathan Collins, who was at the bottom of this sheet, got 9 attacking returns last season from open play. So it shows you, that he's going to be aiming in there, and it also bolsters the appeal of Van de Ven and Romero as well. It is worth thinking about Porro for a while, and but we don't have long for the deadline, so I'll have to move on a little bit. My only worry with him is just how historically poor Tottenham have been defensively. Yeah, and I can think of many games in the past season where we've gone, oh, Tottenham are playing so and so at home, should be a banker. I remember the Ipswich game where we all went on Tottenham and then they lost like 2-0, I think, or 2-1. So for the 5.5 picks, in terms of attacking output for the fixtures, looks really good for the first 6. But will Tottenham keep clean sheets? That is the big question. Danny Munoz. And whenever I make my videos, and Munoz has regularly been on the face of my videos. The Nutter, Danny Munoz. I type in Danny Munoz and it comes up with like some random actor. You have to type in Daniel Munoz. Anyway, I don't know why I'm telling you that. Daniel Munoz, the Nutter, the Colombian Marauder down the right wing. You just love to own him, don't you? You really love to own him. I think everyone would have him in their team because he's priced perfectly, and he's the perfect asset, really, because you can see he actually does get defensive bonus more often than the other fullbacks. So he is a case where he does seem to get it at twice the rate in terms of how many games he hits it. Um, yeah, it's just that Chelsea game, isn't it? I think if you can stomach the fact that he's probably not going to keep a clean sheet in game week 1, then it becomes very interesting. Because after that, like I said to you, once you see that game week ticker roll over, you'll be looking at who to transfer in or who you don't have, and suddenly Danny Munoz has Nottingham Forest at home, Villa away, who might be focused on Champions League, might have Rodgers out still, who knows, might still be getting stuff together. And Villa tend to not score like 4 or 5 either. Then he's got Sunderland at home, impeccable fixture. West Ham away, good fixture. And then you wait until Liverpool at home until it gets bad. So it's really difficult for me to pick between those two as well. So it makes you think, why not just have both of them? But then it's like Tarkowski might be the better pick of all three. It's great. That's why I'm saying 5 at the back or 4 at the back is so viable. I'm basically just talking you into all of these picks, aren't I? Is what I'm doing, guys. Murillo, the long shot taker from Forest. The Forest fans love to tell us that he's going to score at some point with his long shots, but he's go look at his stats. He's not good for attacking returns, but man oh man, is he good for defensive bonus? And he's like Tarkowski, but arguably even better in terms of the defensive reliance that side has now. Everton have like invested in their attack with Grealish and Dewsbury Hall and Gareth Barry's son. But Forest, I know they've just signed McAtee as of 2 hours of this recording of this video, and they've got Ndoye. I don't know if those are like they're gonna turn that Forest attack around. They'll certainly improve it, but Forest are gonna rely on that defense, and he is someone who just hoovers up bonus points. You could argue he's been quite unlucky given how close the defensive average is per game for Tarkowski and Murillo, which is in the second to last column there. Yeah, it's just so hard to talk anyone out of Murillo. He looks like one of the best defensive picks in the game, and the fixtures look glorious too. Even the tough fixture, Arsenal away. Again, Arsenal are not a team who like to win by 2, 3, 4 goals against decent sides in the Prem, right? We've seen that Arteta loves a 1-0 win. Milenkovic, one of my favorite picks last season. And again, if anyone wants to send me a Forest shirt or a Serbia shirt I just prefer the Serbia shirt with Milenkovic on the back, you're more than welcome to. To Canada. Amazing, isn't he? He's an awesome pick. He still racks up defensive bonus. It'd be interesting to see if that changes at all this season, as in, like, will he improve that? Because Forest look even more reliant on the defense now. What he didn't do well last season, the only thing he didn't do well last season, as someone who owned him for the whole season, was his bonus point production. And despite doing really well across pretty much all metrics, he just didn't gather bonus points. And Murillo did. I think Murillo got 18 to Milenkovic's like 3 or 5 or something like that. So me personally right now, I sound like Red Letter Media. Me personally, Red Letter Media is a great channel, by the way. Me personally, despite my bias, favoritism to the Serbian warlord Milenkovic, I'm going with Murillo right now, but I might just get both of them, to be honest with you. We'll see. But I also want Munoz and Porro and Tarkowski too, so who knows? Right, Williams. Look at the defensive average and bonus. It's still really good, but Milenkovic just seems to hit it in those games where it matters. Yeah, really solid pick. Really solid pick. Priced really well too. I just double checked my stats there as well, and it is odd, isn't it, that the average per game for Milenkovic was slightly lower for defensive contributions, but somehow he had almost 10% less. But it shows that in the games where it matters, that's where you need to get those defensive bonus, I suppose, because there's still a 10% swing on it. Really solid pick, and he actually has really good goal for it. I was looking at things like his shots in the box and stuff and touches in the box. That's pretty damn good for a defender. He's definitely top 3 in terms of probably top 2 best 5 million mids or below in the game. But again, is he better than a Murillo pick or Milenkovic? He's nowhere near Murillo for defensive contribution, or bonus point production, and he's nowhere near Milenkovic in terms of that open play, goal threat, set piece goal threat sort of thing. But if you do need to save some change, he is there. For me, I would say that if you're doubling up, I would kind of understand the Murillo and Williams. But if you're just going with one of Murillo or Milenkovic, I kind of, I don't know how to describe it, but he's a really good pick still. He's a really good pick. But I just, every time, if I own Williams, I'd be like, oh, I wish I owned Murillo or Milenkovic. Do you know what I mean? I wish we could have like 5 Forest picks, to be honest with you. Or I wish they were cheaper, so we just have all of them. But there you go. Again, obviously, since he plays for Forest, the fixtures are really good. You've got to ask yourself, is Murillo worth the extra half a mil? Yes. Is Milenkovic worth the extra half a mil? More debatable because of that lack of bonus point production and the similar defensive contribution. You may sway towards Williams. I hate to say it because I favour Milenkovic from a bias point of view. So it might go Murillo, Williams, Milenkovic. Speaking of DEFCON fellas, we have Lacroix from Pierre Gasly's home country. He's really good for. You don't need me to tell you. You can see it from my stats. He's really good for defensive contributions. He's in a weird bracket of pricing though, isn't he? Because is he going to keep as many clean sheets as Murillo? Probably not. Is he going to get as many bonuses as Murillo? Probably not. Does he contribute as much bonus points generally as Murillo? He's almost at 0.6 below per game in terms of how often, his averages. Are his fixtures as good? No. So I don't think he's quite as good as those picks. Is he as good as a Munoz? Again, I don't think so. I think Munoz is worth the half mil. But he's definitely a consideration. I do think he might be the second best 5 mil defender in the game. I think a lot of people will overlook him. He also carries goal threat too, which I know he didn't get many of last season, but he really is a threat from goal, in front of goal, from set pieces. He also he's got similar sprint speed to Van de Ven, but seems to just pick up so many more recoveries. He's just priced a little bit awkwardly for me. I think if he was 4.5, a lot more people would be going there. It would ask a lot more questions. Then maybe he's too cheap then. And not actually James Collins' son, Nathan Collins, comes in next. And again, if he was 4.5, I think he'd be in so many teams. But with Frank gone now, from that Brentford managerial role, and him bumping up half a mil, and also the assists he got were quite lucky, it's kind of hard to recommend him, given, as you can see, his XGI was actually lower than Lacroix, and the defensive contribution was weaker too, and arguably he is in a better side, isn't he, and a better defensive side. But he is that interesting pick if you do want to go with Brentford. Interesting differential, because I don't think many people in the sort of FPL elite sphere have gone with him. So of all the picks on this page, he is the one who will be lowest owned among sort of that elite top 100k sort of thing, if you can call that elite. You know what I mean. All right. On to the 4 to 4.5 mil picks. We start off with Agba Do. First, it's a great chant. Is he a great pick? He's not a great pick, but he's a very solid 4.5 pick. The Wolves correspondent on James's Planet FPL was mentioning how Agbadu is a very good pick, and he was considering him. You can see defensive contributions is really, really good. It was actually better than... Who are they better than? Oh, sorry, they're better than Anderson's, as you can see, when he has hit them. So, I suppose for me, when there's a player like this, you want him to be in a good defense and have good defensive bonus. Like, you kind of need 2 of that 3, right? I don't think he's in a good defense though, but he is hitting bonus, but he also doesn't have any threat. So it depends if he rotates well with your setup, and he might well do. So if you need someone in 3 and 5, very, very solid pick. Probably the pick of the bunch when it comes to the 4.5s. I'm sure you've already seen this from other people posting it already, considering we're now exactly 12 hours to deadline. Is Joachim Andersen, and it was very, very strange that Palace sold him to Fulham. I think Fulham were happy to snap their hands off for him. the price they got for him, they paid for him, very good. Really, really strong centre back. Confident on the ball. You can see his defensive contributions in this game. So obviously for football as well, in actual effectiveness, really good. I really like him as a player. He just doesn't carry much going forward, right? I don't think that's necessarily like a fault of his. He just doesn't get that involved going forward. You can see that his fixtures are not very nice. But again, if you're doing a rotation, he might be one of the best rotation picks, much like Agba do. Okay, but I probably wouldn't want to be playing him until game week 4 and 5. It's the only issue with him, really. I do think that Fulham defense is a lot better than the Wolves defense. Though I know the stats there don't necessarily show it. The stats you see here are sort of the XGC when that player was present on the pitch. Richards, I think he's an American fella, isn't he? For Palace, another good Palace pick. And it shows the price them pretty well. Interestingly, 4.5 mil, and it's very close to Agbadu and Anderson's numbers for defensive contribution. And again, a Palace side, which is a strong team with regards to those mid-tier teams. Again, not much threat though. All these picks you're seeing in this initial 3 don't carry much threat. Again, more so if he works out for your rotation, he could be very good. But you'll always be thinking, oh, I wish I had Munoz if you have Richards. Senesi, who I realized today is Argentinian, I forgot, is an interesting guy. Again, I'll mention Neil Glover again. Neil Glover was mentioning that he doesn't rate Senesi. James mentioned that he rates him. I personally do rate him, but maybe I have bias because he got loads of returns at one point in the Premier League a few seasons ago. I think he's a really solid centre-back. Does go marauding a few times, which is good for fantasy, but I suppose bad for expected clean sheets. He just needs someone next to him, but he won't have someone next to him. Actually, they did sign Diakite, so he should have that starting centre-back next to him, but even the full-back roles really need investment for Bournemouth. Once they've got that in place, he'll be a really nice pick. I think he's priced really well. He's going to give you a mixture of everything. So being, eventually a decent defense. Right now, they're one of the poorest defenses, but eventually in a good defense, historically good data, historically good defensive data, has produced output in the past. It's again more of a long-term pick, and you'll notice that this is the case with a lot of these 4.5s. The weakest of the VDs is Vandenberg, and I owned him for a little bit last season when he was 4 mil. You can see he does rack up some defensive contributions, but it is a step down from the ones we've just discussed. And he carries very little going forward. He has got goals and things, you can see, but for me, it's just not going to set the world alight. I do think the other ones are better, but again, I'm putting him in here because he might fit your rotation. The third VD, Van de Ven, gets discussed a lot and did score. It was off the floor, by the way. It wasn't a header. Romero actually hit the bar with like a erratic shot where he got in front of the defender and hit the bar, and then it came out to Van de Ven, who just slotted it home. I genuinely thought he was going to. I'm not trying to take the piss. I genuinely thought he was going to injure himself with the celebration, like his long strides. But yeah, him and Romero and Porro, Spurs are going to be set up to get a lot of set piece goals. So it is interesting because I do think he'll get more set piece goals now. But you can see he is horrible for defensive bonus. So, he's not a great defense, not much defensive bonus. I think, again, more of a rotation pick if you need a rotator there. Another interesting one, he's got a cracker of a penalty against... Who's it against? Lille, who Giroud plays for, by the way. He scored a cracker against West Ham. Max Kilman, the Irishman. So he has really good defensive contributions. Again, not quite in that Anderson Agba tier, but he is in that Richards tier of defensive contributions, that Virgil van Dinkel tier. So he also carries good goal threat. I know it wasn't the best last season. My issue with him is I don't rate West Ham. I haven't rated him defensively since maybe the sort of Moisey era there. They've kind of not been that great since that point. Even then, they sort of leaked goals. And under Potter, Potter's not really known to be a defensive coach. More so about trying to play football that looks good and more complex tactics. So I don't expect many clean sheets, but he does have a favourable fixture. As you can see, there's no red fixtures across that. But then you kind of look at it more in depth and think, are West Ham going to keep a clean sheet against that Chelsea attack, that Spurs attack, the Spursy attack, the Palace attack? I don't think so. And then when you move down, you'll also see this fellow. And as I said, you've got an asterisk next to his name. It means that these stats are from another league. So it's obviously going to be a step down. He's probably not going to get a 0.40 goal involvement. It's probably going to be max 0.3, right? Because your 0.33s and 0.32s are like your Poro 8 Nori elite levels. It's probably going to just be under that, somewhere between the 0.2 or 0.3, probably more so towards 0.2. But look at the shots per game. He is a fullback, so he's not going to probably get many defensive recoveries. I do think if you want a West Ham defender, it's Diouf, then Kilman, then Wan-Bissaka. I'm pretty confident in saying that. And if you can squeeze him in a rotation that works for you, I think it'd be very interesting for you. He does get so far forward. But again, you're just purely relying... He's like a cheap Poro. He's basically a poverty Poro. Because you're just hoping for the attack and returns, because he's not going to get defensive bonus. He's not going to get many clean sheets. Speaking of not many clean sheets, Patrick Dorgu of Manchester United. Again, another one where I see people say stuff like, "Oh yeah, Dorgu this season, I can see him getting." I'm doing. I don't know if you could call this impression. I can see him getting loads of defensive bonus points this season. I don't know where that's come from, because he got 0 last season. Or would have got 0. And he also had 0 attacking returns last season. In pre-season, yes, he has looked like someone who could be worth investment for the attacking output. But if you're doing that, I'd rather just go with Diouf or De Kuiper, because they're more nailed and have much more historic data that backs that up, and less threat from Mr. Dallo of Portugal. So I wouldn't personally. I also don't think he rotates that well. There's no games other than the Burnley at home where you'd want to play him. I think he's a bit of a dud spot, and I'm happy for the big YouTubers to go with him. Because like I said, it'll encourage more people to go for him. Despite the fact that he has one good fixture in the next 6, no goal involvements last season, no defensive bonus last season. So kind of a dead pick. I kind of wanted to put him in just to show you. So you've gained that bit of knowledge from this. De Kuiper. He's called De Kuiper, so anyone with a De something name, you're kind of like, oh, is it De Bruyne Mark II? He did really well. Was it the Pro League I think he was playing in last season? Obviously, those stats are going to drop. There's very, very mild rumours that he might take penalties. He's not going to take penalties. It'll be Welbeck if he's on the pitch. If not, it'll be Rutter. If not, it'll be O'Reilly, in my opinion. They may even give one to Mitoma. I just don't think it's going to end up on De Kuiper. I would love for it to. As I said, it's so entertaining in professional football when a defender takes a penalty. So actually, any level of football, it's really entertaining to watch the defender take a penalty. Yeah, so I hope he takes penalties, and he will get attacking returns. Again, much better pick than a Dorgu, but he's a fullback as I've listed, so probably not going to get many recoveries unless he turns into like a Munoz fullback, in which case he might. A very interesting pick, very out there pick. I think if you're looking for a differential, he's interesting. But again, with all these picks on the cheaper page, you've got to pick the rotation that fits what you want and the playstyle you want as well. As I said, I personally believe that you should go, okay, I'm going to go for defensive bonus, or okay, I'm going to go for attacking bonus, right? To fill in those remaining spots, and then just see if that works out for you. I personally think that you should be going for defensive bonus because it's more predictable. I think the way they've structured it massively favors people who can hoover up those defensive bonus. Speaking of Hoover, it is Hoover. Wolves fans basically saying if they sign someone for this position, Hoover will be dropped. So he's probably the worst pick of this entire video. But some people might want to punt on him for the rotation and for a 4 million, and for a 4 million that isn't one of the relegation fodder sides. I know there's other picks like a Rauho for Bournemouth, but he's even more at a risk because there's no way Bournemouth are going in the new season without signing more fullbacks. The same with the Akite coming in for Hill. So I think he's better than the Bournemouth 4 mils in terms of security, but still very poor security. I wouldn't go there. Maybe it fits your rotation and you're happy with risk, I personally wouldn't. Now we're getting into the ones that are more nailed. The only not that much nailed the last four is Joe Rodon. What's Joe's name from The Athletic? Joe, I can't remember what his name is. The guy who made the athletic videos. Joe something. Anyway, he loves Joe Rodon for some reason. Ray Nildo, great name, and played for Atletico Madrid. So it sounds, it sounds nice. It sounds different. It sounds Brazilian. It sounds like, oh, we just put him in the team. He's gonna get 10 goals and assists from fullback for Sunderland. Not going to be the case. His expected goal involvement's horrific. Again, I'd say for the 4 million picks, just pick one that fits your rotation. But you do have the option of going with fullbacks or centre backs. But the fullbacks in here really have poor attacking threat. Goodmanson is the one that has the most attacking threat of the 4 millions, of the nailed 4 millions or nailed 4 millions. But he plays for Leeds. So yeah, Joe Rodon. So Goodmanson, Reynildo, and Esteve are nailed. Rodon isn't as nailed, but he's definitely more nailed than Hoover Dam. I think Rodon could pick up a lot of defensive bonus because of his position. So if you want to risk it and go for that, I understand it, but I just don't like picking any relegation fodder picks if you can manage it. But if you're looking to max out like defensive bonus magnets, you probably should go for Rodon or Esteve. Okay, so these two, because they're centre backs, I can just see that happening. I can see them getting a lot of defensive bonus. And as you can see, the Goodmanson, Reynildo, Hoover Dam picks, they're probably not going to get attacking bonus anyway, so you might as well go for the centre backs for this one if it fits your rotation. Okay, that is. Oh, we managed to do it in 40 minutes. That's not too bad, is it? That is it from me for the defenders. I'll try and put another members video out for my refined list for the defenders. So if you join as a Spears 11 YouTube member or as a Patreon paid member, then you'll get access to my refined list of the midfielders and the attackers, which is already out. But I'll also do it as in refined videos. But I'll also do a refined video short list of my considerations for defenders. But I need to bake something first for meal prep. So I'll do that first. I'll probably listen to yet another podcast from someone in the community. And then I'll post my defender shortlist if I get a chance before I go to bed tonight. It's already 11 p.m. in Canada. We've got about 12 hours to deadline. So this might be one of the freshest guides you get for this. And I hope it's been useful to you. Good luck for the new season if I don't see you in the stream, because I'm hoping to also potentially stream. Yeah, because I have no medical appointments tomorrow. I've had three separate days of separate medical testing and appointments this week. And it's 6.5 hour round trip yesterday to meet one of the surgeons, which I was very appreciative of. But I'm very tired as a result of all this, and I had more testing today, electronic EMG testing, electronic testing through my arm. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to a day of rest, but I will try to stream tomorrow on YouTube before the deadline if I am well enough. If I am, I'll stream and I'll show you my team, and I'll probably tinker with it right up to the deadline because I have no idea still what I'm going to go with. So if you're still not sure, I'm also still not sure, and that's what makes it fun, right, with this sort of game. But thank you to you. I wish you luck if I don't see you in the stream, if I'm able to stream. And a big thank you to everyone that supported me. Really helps me out, and also pushes me to post more videos on the main channel as well. So yeah. Any other things to say? On Patreon, I'll put the link in the description. There's free access if you're just a free member as well to the spreadsheets, and all free spreadsheets are available. Defenders, midfielders, and forwards sheets are available on my Patreon for free. And as I said, I do more refined shortlist videos for paid members on there too, and on the YouTube memberships. I will see you maybe in this stream. I'm going to go bake something and listen to, it's called a protein, it's my own recipe, it's called a protein oat bake. I'm going to bake those and then get working on the refined shortlist and listen to some other YouTubers in the meantime. But I wish you well. I'm also just going to rest my arm. I've just kept it straight this whole video, if you've noticed. Yeah, and good luck to you. Hopefully, it's going to be a cracking start to the season. And I'll be honest with you, I hope the template formations and template picks don't do so well. I hope it's a big differential season because we need it. They needed to change the captaincy up. They didn't, but they did change the DEFCON up, and that's good. So it's going to be great. I think the first match is going to be great. Outro's taking a million years as usual. I'll maybe see you in the stream. Or if you remember, I'll see you in the refined shortlist. Cheers, guys.